So far on The Sound of Southern Charm, we've covered a lot of different career paths. Today we're hitting a little bit closer to home for me by bringing in a voice actor. Chloe Dolandis has been an entertainer for 25 years and is my first guest to ever have an official day on the calendar in her honor. Chloe, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Stephen.
When most people are going to go look you up after listening to this podcast, they're going to find out and say, there is no way she's even been alive for 25 years, much less been in entertainment that long. So tell me, how did you get your start in the industry?
Well, I feel very lucky because I have two very creative parents who have been supportive in a lot of different ways. And my mom was a ballet dancer professionally. She, of course, retired very young because that's the norm for most ballet dancers. And she did musical theater and voiceover as well, actually. And my dad, before he retired, was a professional musician. He was also a chiropractor and a science teacher. So we all had very diverse interests, but the two of them were so arts focused and wanted to make sure that I had every opportunity I could to express myself. And when I showed interest in wanting to pursue a career in the arts, there was mostly support. There was a little pushback from my dad because he's so into academia, which I totally understand. And I'm actually very grateful that he was so particular about me going to undergrad and doing well in school. I'm really grateful for that because now, especially business-wise, to have certain sensibilities thanks to my education, it's such a huge, not just bonus, but asset. And that's helped me structure my career and maintain my career in the way I have. So that's the start. That's like the vague start.
Okay, so now, what instrument did your dad play?
He started out as an accordion player when he was like 12 years old in New York City. My grandfather, his dad, was a big band leader in the Catskills up in New York. And I'm talking like the old days, big band. I don't know if you know Harry James, famous trumpet player. Dakota Staton was a singer. All of these big band people in I guess it was like the 40s too. I'm thinking the 50s, 60s is when my dad kind of came up in it. And so my grandfather was a big band leader and my dad and his brothers played in the band and he just kind of had to learn on the job. My grandfather threw him on stage and was like, go, just figure it out.
Wow.
So I'm like, yeah, it's quite a way to get an education.
Yeah, it is.
So it's interesting because you do learn. I mean, and now we have so many tutorials online and so much access to so much information, but I got to give it to my dad. He somehow figured it out and it did give him a really good ear. So probably not the way he would have chosen to learn how to play music.
Probably not.
But it was just sort of the family situation. And so he started on the accordion and then he played piano and keyboards. So he's actually played both instruments for more than, I don't know, maybe we're approaching 50 years here.
Wow.
And he's really, really talented, but just definitely not like a traditionally schooled musician. So his perspective is interesting.
What do you think his preference is for musical styles? Is it jazz or is it classical? Or
I mean, jazz is so foundational for him, jazz and big band. He grew up in the 60s, 70s, so he was at Woodstock, man.
Nice.
He was into rock. Dad had like Beatles albums and like Jocko jazz and like Weather Report, and then my mom was into like Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind & Fire and like this soul stuff because she used to listen to the soul stations up in New York and even in Miami, I think, when she was first growing up. It was so mixed in my house as far as musical styles go. And my mom actually, being a ballet dancer, the classical element for her was huge because she was in a contemporary company, which is, less traditional, but still Debussy and Vivaldi and, these just beautiful composers would, pop up on our speakers frequently. So, yeah.
So it's an argument over the radio. Hopefully not an argument.
I think the only one was it? You know what? Come to think of it, I feel like we did have arguments. Not like bad arguments.
Well, no.
Just like, I'd want to listen to, my dad also is just like a huge talk radio person. We love NPR and we were like big PBS fans watching TV and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we would agree on a lot. But when I started growing up, I'm sure I was very like, I want to listen to this. And my parents were very generous and very accommodating. But I remember listening when I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the value of talk radio. I was just like, turn it off. My mom would be like, turn it off. But now I'm like, it's already on before they can ask me to turn it on or before my dad can ask me to turn it on. So it's interesting how it comes around.
What do you think was like the moment where you felt like this is the big one? Like
I have arrived.
Yeah. You have arrived moment.
Well, I was 9 and I was Piglet and Winnie the Pooh at my summer camp, my theater summer camp. And that was my I have arrived moment.
Aww.
And it sounds kind of funny, but here's why. Oh my gosh. And I just made this crazy connection mentally that I'll tell you about in a sec, which was not even relevant to why I'm answering this. But
Perfect.
Yeah. So for multiple reasons. So I worked really hard for it. I don't remember the learning process of the audition, but it was a theater summer camp, and there were a lot of really talented kids in the camp, and I felt so excited to be there, and the kids were nice, and it was local. It was in South Florida. I was living there at the time, and the training was great. I ended up doing a professional show. My mom was in this professional show in this theater company a few years later, and one of the cast members had been my coach at summer camp, and I was the understudy in the show. So, knowing Ingrid was this woman's name, and I just remember the vocal exercises and pitch matching and like all these things we would do together, and it was so much fun. I wasn't qualified for Winnie the Pooh. I wasn't one of the older kids. I was 9 and or maybe 8.5, and I just really wanted it. I thought it was a fun role. I got a solo song, which if I could be dirty all day long, dirty as I had to pronounce the dirty. It was all about being a piglet. That's me. Very cute. I even remember some of the choreography. Anyway.
Too bad this isn't video where I'd totally call you out.
I'm telling you, I'll do a little pig nose. But it for years defined all of these little gifts and knickknacks that I would get from friends. I got this gift from another friend's father, who she was in the camp as well, and it was this piggy bank, and it just sort of started this funny tradition for the people I'm closest with to bring me things at performances, like here's a good luck pig, like here's a not good luck, but here's a pig for the show.
Sure.
And I have this huge pig collection that's over 1,000.
Wow.
So the reason I'm all of this to say, I think it shaped my personal life, and it really helped strengthen personal relationships that I had. And it showed me all the pigs throughout all the years were representations of love. And I think getting that kind of support from so many people for so long just propelled me to keep going and going and going. So I know, again, it's a little strange, like a summer camp role is your defining role, but like really that started my confidence. And I think that took me to help take me to these wonderful places that I call a career now. And then the side note that I just realized was Pooh was played by Randy Rainbow, who is this incredibly famous comedian now. He's gigantic, like on YouTube and stuff.
Right.
And we always knew he was just insanely talented. And so Randy, for years, like I watched him do community theater, and my grandfather was friends with his father. So we sort of grew up together, and I don't know him anymore, but we had this friendship for a long time, and it was just, it was really neat to be able to be like his sidekick in this show. Like he was just such a talented dude back then, and as a young kid. So I learned a lot. So that's my answer. That's my final answer.
Well, yeah, but you raised an interesting point that I think is not only important for voice actors, but anybody out there pursuing any sort of career in any way, and that is the support that you were talking about that you were getting from so many people.
Yeah.
The sheer number of the little pigs and things that you had, it's just...
It's crazy.
It's
amazing. Insane. It's like completely insane. You should see it. Like I have a 2-page magazine spread from high school where I'm like in the middle of my pigs. It's like me, my face surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of these little pigs. It's crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic. But, you did move on beyond the summer camp theater things.
I did.
And you were doing, sort of some commercial work, and you were singing, and there was a little stint that you even did on Nickelodeon. Do you want to tell people what that was?
Sure. When I was between 19 and 21, I did 2 television shows on Nickelodeon. If you remember those slime shows where they came on during commercial breaks, they're called interstitials. And the hosts would like slime the kids on the contestants on the game show. And I was the green team captain on Splat.
Nice.
And that was my first national. Well, was that my first national? I may have done a commercial before then, but that was like my first big national TV show. And then I had replaced a girl on that. So I was only on for a month and then the show stopped.
Sure.
That was like the fall of, I think it was 2004, 3, 4. I think it was 04. Yeah, I started college in 03. Anyway, so because I had only done 1 month with them, a year or so later when they were casting for Friday Night Slime Time, which was a revival of Slime Time Live, which was really big in the 90s and 2000s. Sorry, my dates are a little convoluted
okay.
here. But they were doing a revival and they were looking for they had a male and they were looking for a female host. And I happened to be in New York and I called my director to say hi. And anyway, he was like, "Oh, do you want to audition for this?" I was like, "Yes." So I ended up flying to LA to audition and I booked it. So that was really interesting to already sort of be in the system. And, they still had me audition and I earned it. I felt like, okay, it wasn't given to me and I wasn't,
Right.
I wasn't like too proud to do it. So it was a really great experience. And that was that. And I did Friday Night Slime Time. It was with Lil JJ and Chloe. And I am Chloe. I was Chloe. And it was awesome. And I loved it also. I loved hosting because I didn't have to be a character. I could just sort of be myself, but like amped up, but like, yeah, you're watching, super excited. And that's part of my personality anyway. So it was like a really great outlet. But all the while, yeah. And all the while, like while I was on these shows, when I would go into my dressing room, I'd write songs and I would be like, oh, I want to do music too. So I want to figure out how to either combine these or do both or something. And that's, I think, a big part of how my career evolved because I knew I couldn't, like in good conscience, give up one thing to just focus solely on the other. And it's taken me longer to establish in the way I have now. But now I have these tools that all contribute to voiceover, which is awesome.
So when you were talking about, in between you were wanting to write music, were you already playing an instrument or was this something that you were just doing lyrics that were in your head? Or what was that?
It was more like lyrics and I'd sort of like plunk around on the piano.
Okay.
I'm still not this I don't consider myself an instrumentalist by any means. I can play. I can play and I can sing while I play, but I'm actually quite shy about it. I don't do it often for people or even for myself. I just sort of I have this little dream. It's like another thing that I'm working on now where I'm like, okay, I want to get more comfortable just like playing and singing so I can do shows on my own. But there's something really special too about performing with other people and sharing that experience. Yes. I really love it. I really, really love it. So I don't know if it was a crutch or if it was a preference or if it was just sort of how I grew up and my dad was playing and we sort of all like took a role, okay. And it was like kind of like how it was in his family. Like he was the piano player. One of my uncles was the drummer. One of my other uncles was the trumpet player. So like everyone had an instrument to like create this band. And I guess maybe that mentality, I've never really thought about this, but I wonder if that mentality was passed down a little bit to my family. And so we're all sort of like fulfilling these roles to create this one unit as opposed to like doing the same thing, So yeah, a lot of the stuff that I was doing in my dressing room was just like writing lyrics, or at that point I may have been sort of top-lining. Top-lining is when you get like a track or a beat or something and you're writing lyrics and melody over it. And okay. I don't quite remember if that was what was going on, but I think I may have been like altering certain songs that were already started that we needed to finish or whatever. So sure. Yeah. But now like you can find me at the piano regularly, which is so much fun. And guitar. Oh my gosh, I am not a guitar player, but I am playing with it for fun.
So is that something, you mentioned your dad playing piano and the accordion before that, but yeah. Did he ever give you sort of any of official lessons, or did he send you to somebody for piano lessons? Or we
tried. We tried. I think it can be tough with parent-child, not always, but what we had, the dynamic that we had, it made it really challenging for us to just like not fight. And maybe I was stubborn or he wanted to do it his way. Maybe we were both stubborn. So maybe it started with my grandfather trying to give me lessons and I just wasn't, Sure. It just wasn't a fit either. And then we tried with my dad, but we ended up writing music together, which was really wonderful. there's a song that he had just written these really beautiful chords, and for Father's Day, I think it was back in, I don't know, 2014 or something, I finished it, and I brought my mom in to help me finish the lyrics too, and we all wrote this song called Coming Home Real Soon. And there's a big band that I played with in South Florida called the Jazz Rats, and I love them. It's like a bunch of instructors from colleges, wonderful programs down in Florida. And they all got together, all these instructors, and created this band and performed, and I would sing with them. Anyway, we have this album coming out, hopefully very soon.
Cool.
It's been in production for years, and it's just like, okay, we're probably going to do this. And Coming Home Real Soon is on the album. So, like, I mentioned my parents, and it was in the song, and, like, coming home to them, and because I was traveling when we wrote this. And
okay.
So we wrote that song, and I think the rhythm that we found and where we were most comfortable was not this, student-teacher relationship necessarily, but this collaborative thing.
Yeah.
And I value that, and I cherish that so much.
Yeah, it kind of speaks to that thing where the assumption is, your parent's always your parent. But at some point, there's that transition later in life where they're also just sort of a friend that you can rely on. And that kind of sounds like this is in that stage of life where, you're out on your own and have been for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so now you can kind of enjoy these other things with them.
Yeah, and I think we had a sort of friendship for a really long time before that happened anyway. So I'm an only child, and I think just the way that their intentions, part of their intentions for parenting me was, it wasn't fully equal because it can't be, but they really wanted to include me in things that they were doing and treat me as, like, not a peer, but you know what I'm saying? It was less of a like a looking down on me as you're just the child. It was, not that that's, I hope that's not common. That would probably be very hard for a child.
Right. No, it was just, let's bring you along.
Yeah.
And have some fun while we do it. So that's awesome.
Very inclusive.
Yeah. Was there ever a time where you felt like there was a switch that flipped between you feeling like you were doing the work in the entertainment stuff for your parents or because they wanted you to versus when it was something that you wanted to do? Or was it just something that was always there?
They never wanted me to. I think they wanted me to just do whatever it was that I felt called me. And my dad was not against it, but he he had these, I think, visions of me becoming a doctor or a lawyer or something.
Sure.
And because, again, with education and work ethic and stuff. So they were really supportive. And my mom was not one of these, like, traditional stage mothers. There was stuff. I mean, every family has stuff, and there was stuff attached to performing that was very hard to navigate. But there was really no pushing. I think the pushing came from, like, maybe them seeing my potential and my want for it, but me not having the understanding that I needed to do XYZ and work this hard to get, to point B. But they'd see me, I think, emotionally struggling with, like, why am I not there? Or why am I not doing this? And they're like, well, just do the work. And I just didn't understand. I didn't understand. And I think there was this sense of entitlement, and not like in a mean, horrible way, but like almost in a little bit of a self-destructive way. I would stand in my own way because I would get frustrated about, like, not feeling like I'm moving forward. And they're like, just keep doing the work. Like, this is not an overnight thing. It looks like it is sometimes, and other people's situations are different, but you're where you are. You have to just keep putting in the work. And they wanted to see me practicing and see me, doing all the groundwork. But it developed. I mean, it developed in my 20s, early mid-20s, where maybe from, it wasn't like failures, but I released this album in 2011, and I started my company, and my mom helped me hugely, and I didn't understand how to market it fully, and I there was just so much work to be done, and I didn't want it. Like, I didn't want to put all of that time and effort in. Like, I wanted to, at that time, it was like you sign with a label and you get help, and it was changing then even, but it just wasn't where I really wanted to be, like, putting my time. So I think I kind of had to go through that and figure out, okay, I'm an independent artist. I don't think this route is going to be where I'm really, like, finding joy every day.
Okay.
So I had been doing voiceover. I've been doing voiceover for more than 20 years. And that kept popping up, and I was doing it pretty consistently. And I'm like, okay, I'll keep doing this while I do music, and I'll do these things simultaneously. And then I realized, like, it felt like there was a place for me in the community, and it felt like there was a place for me as a singer in the community. And that's when things started taking shape mentally. And that was only a handful of years ago. It was pretty recent. So I'm really excited that it happened, to be honest.
Yeah, and yeah, right around that time is sort of where you and I met, because I've been in voiceover for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And you and I met within that time frame at VO Atlanta, both working. And during that time, you released a couple of singles, Daylight and Concrete. And I've seen you progress more and more, and you even have a new cover song that you've just put out recently.
Oh yeah, we have a few. I'm with my friend Fernando Perdomo, he's like this Miami staple for years, and he moved to LA saying I'm not going to move to LA, and then he moved, and he's like doing amazing there now. So it's so cool. I'm so proud of him. Fernando is this killer multi-instrumentalist producer, and just like he's like the poster child for like independent musician amazingness. He works harder than I think anyone I've ever met. It's unreal. So he and I are huge fans of Swedish pop music, like obscure Swedish pop music. So
all right,
it's not obscure.
I can't say that I've listened to a lot of it, but okay.
Some of it, it's really incredible stuff. And there's this artist named Salim Al Fakir who is now in this duo, and they're doing more like pop electronic stuff. You've heard their songs, this duo that they started. Because it's like just super, super big pop hits. Okay. Like Madonna, I think she did one of their songs. Anyway, Salim's early stuff, this guy, he's so good. I'm smiling so big right now. And Fernando and I were like, let's just during the pandemic, during lockdown, during all this craziness, let's just do a passion project. We've been talking about doing something together for years, and we had the time, and so we created this duo called The Long Good Night, because like he and I so often we're like the last ones at the party, like just like talking and like,
Gotcha.
Enjoying ourselves. So like The Long Good Night. And we'd text about music like late into the night, like just exchanging ideas. You should see some of the text threads. They're so funny. They're so funny.
That's awesome.
But we're both just super passionate about this stuff. So anyway, the latest one, I think it was October of 2020, we released it. And there's new stuff coming out this year too. So that one was a Cardigan song, so that they're much less obscure. Mm-hmm. That's a song called Great Divide. So and we thought it was very timely for everything that was going on in the country, and we just love the song. And then my friend Natalie Malpica, who I've been friends with since high school, she helped us with the video, and I love working with her. Yeah. New stuff coming soon. I literally was recording a new song an hour or two before we jumped into this.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I know that's exciting times for you because, like you said, you've kind of worked and continued working on both, especially over the last several years. Mm-hmm. And you've really kind of found this creativity in this time period where you've really been able to thrive with both.
Yep. Totally.
So I applaud you for being able to keep up with both.
Yeah. And I'll say
it's still kind of, still paying the bills doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, that it had to happen. It was really out of necessity because like I said before, I realized it's not that I'm not built for it. It's just, it wasn't a preference. I wasn't happy. I wasn't feeling excited to do my work every day as a musician, mostly a musician. I was just like, this is, even thinking about it now, I'm just like, oh, this is not how I want to do this.
Okay.
And voiceover, I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, I'm auditioning, I don't know, multiple times a day, a lot, or doing jobs or whatever. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And I feel different doing this kind of work. And it feels like there's more of a rhythm here for me. It feels like a really good fit for how I want my life to be. And the other thing that I just started doing, which is really very cool, is teaching singing for voice actors. And that's
cool.
Been such a blast. Yeah. Because there's such a strong relationship there. It's really the same thing. It's the same thing and, dressed a little bit differently.
Yes. There's definitely a musicality, as some of our coaches and mentors in this industry have said. There's definitely a musicality to it.
Yep. So I've really been enjoying that. I coached kids for years. I coached thespian drama troupes. I had fun with that. And I've coached adults. I've coached a bunch of different people, but I never really put myself out into the world as a coach because I really wanted to focus on my own performance.
Sure.
But I started to see a need for this, and I just kept feeling compelled to do it. And I spoke with one of my voice teachers who I hold her in such high regard. I love this woman. She's amazing. And she coaches amazing people too. So I'm just so glad to be working with her. And I talked to her about this curriculum I've been putting together. I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, yeah, this is on target. This is good.
Right.
And, having that little seal of approval, my teacher thinks I'm onto something. I know I'm on, we both know I'm onto something. It just feels right. And then just working with people and feeling it. And man, it just seeing the transformation in people, I'm like, okay, this is how I can serve the community. Because it's not just oh, look at me. I want to be able to show up for people and help them feel more comfortable. That's confident and comfortable put together.
I like
so
it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I know having people who have helped show me the way in that way has benefited me more than I can say. So for me to be able to empathetically show up for people and be like, you know what, it seems a little scary, but you can do this, and give them a safe space. That's so exciting to me.
It sounds like it, and I kind of want to dig in a little bit more on that.
Sure.
You're starting to offer this opportunity to sort of give back to the community, and you have this position where, a few years ago when you were just strictly pursuing music, you just didn't really have it in you. But now you're using that experience to kind of build on to make a push in your career, and it's really brought you a lot of success in a lot of different ways between the two. So what do you think are some other sort of skills or life lessons that you've sort of brought with you as you've progressed, because you are already keeping in mind that, there was a time where you recognize you could have done more, but now you're using that experience to push you forward.
Yeah.
What else do you kind of think you're using from your life that you feel like have helped you be successful to this point?
I think getting my personal life together, not that it was a big mess, but really making sure that I am taking care of myself. That's just number one. And when you can start from a baseline that's just solid and natural, you're not putting anything on, so there's nothing to lose. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, okay, I want to be this, so I'm going to behave like that. I'm going to, and who thinks of this consciously, but we put on these masks, these facades, these personas that we think we need to be able to survive in certain groups of people. And I remember being on a tour bus, and to each their own, whatever. But I didn't want to be on tour and around heavy drinking and alcohol and, sometimes drugs or whatever. It's just not my speed.
Sure.
And that's not all music.
Right.
But I felt myself, it wasn't that I wasn't being true to myself. I was just in groups of people that didn't feel like home base. It didn't feel like, yes, it felt like, okay, this is really interesting. And it was a very interesting experience, just putting myself in these, and even on camera. I don't love wearing makeup.
Okay. Me either. I don't.
Right? I'm so just emotionally, I am not low maintenance. Emotionally, I love deep conversation and, genuine connection. But in certain ways, I'm super low maintenance, and I don't want to be primping and, doing all this stuff to prepare for an audition. And there's nothing wrong with it. I loved it when I did it, but I started realizing the way I want to exist in the world is like this. Okay. So, if I do want to put makeup on, I can. If I don't, I don't. That's it. I'm in pajamas.
Right.
I'm in workout clothes, whatever.
You're not setting the expectation.
Right. And the big thing was I didn't want to do, okay. I remember going on this casting in Miami for, it must have been a Pantene commercial or Herbal Essences, one of these shampoo commercials, which right off the bat, I'm not right for it. I'm just not. It's they hire, who knows what they're doing now. I haven't seen a commercial in a while, but it was models. And I'm a quote unquote real person, which all of this is craziness, but this is sort of the lingo. And so I would go down to these auditions and have my hopes up. Sometimes I'd book things. And so I went down to this one, And I was in college, and it was like between classes. And I mean, it was like an hour and change drive and finding parking. It was just so hard on Miami Beach. It was so tough. And I was all ready. And I walked in, and the casting director saw me in the waiting room, and he comes up to me and he looks at me and he takes my hair in his hand, which is curly, and he picks it up and he goes, straight. And he throws it. And he's like, and those on your face, like I have moles or beauty marks on my face. And he said, those, cover them. He was just like, straighten your hair, cover your moles. Like, that's the only way I'm seeing you. And I did. I drove all the way back up. I was living in Boca Raton. I drove an hour back up. I straightened my hair, covered them up as much as I could. I didn't have the right foundation, I learned, but it was so nuts, and it was so sobering. And it really that was a blow to the confidence of a 19-year-old or 20-year-old girl,
Yeah.
you know? And I went back down, and I didn't book it, you know, but I think I'm pretty sure he saw me. But it was just like, okay, is this what I really want to? I don't want to have to go up against anything. I don't want to be swimming upstream in a stream that's like the wrong temperature. You know, like if I need to swim upstream in certain regards, fine, that's part of life. But it felt like the wrong place for me. It didn't feel comforting, that's, you know, an unfair expectation maybe of work sometimes, but it didn't feel like home. And I mean, to be totally honest, I'm like completely veering at this point, but I hope you got some interesting sound bites from that.
No, you raised an important point, and, you know, I can't speak to that because, you know, I've done the on-camera things or had somebody look at me and say, you know, change X, Y, Z.
Right.
Outside of, you know, unless somebody just said it under their breath somewhere when I was out in public or something.
Right.
I have zero experience with that.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks more to, it's not that you weren't willing to do it. It was just that it was not what you wanted. And there is a very specific difference in that you're going to work hard. And do what you need to do, but that is not the way in which you want to do it. Exactly. Thank you for succinctly putting it that way. That makes perfect sense, yes. Yeah, because, this is not a conversation about, you know, Chloe doesn't want to work to do it.
No.
That's dead wrong. Chloe definitely wants to work.
Oh, yeah.
Just let Chloe do it the way she wants to.
Yeah, or like the way that I can.
Comfortably.
That's the other thing.
I can't. Yeah.
I don't want to have surgery. I don't want to have a nose job, you know, like if you do, you do. Like that's you. That's fine, you know, but I just it's just I really hope that we continue to evolve, you know, and more differences it's not just about like celebrating differences. It's just acceptance. You know, I don't need to be celebrated. I just, you know, I just don't knock me for who I am when I'm not hurting anybody. Right. You know, that's really what it's about. And I mean, my experience well, I'm ethnically ambiguous if you ask any casting director, but you know, my experience as a white woman, I can't imagine what other people are going through with like not being accepted, and it's insane. So I just, you know, I hope that I can show up with, you know, imperfect teeth and beauty marks and, you know, sometimes curly hair and, you know, all of 5'5" and be me and and, you know, show up as best I can. Yeah, I don't think there's any concerns with that. I do want to sort of follow up, though, and, you know, you mentioned in this particular instance, even though it wasn't the right fit, that, you know, you didn't get the job. And whether it be on camera or in voiceover, which, you know, we both have a lot of experience in, and you mentioned earlier, you're auditioning a ton every day, and you're excited to get up and do it. But I think most people that listen to this podcast don't realize the amount of rejection that voice actors or actors in general just have to kind of deal with every day. And so how are you able to sort of push past that rejection? Well, I think, my gosh, I haven't thought of it as rejection for a little while, which is I'm trying to. That's refreshing. I'm trying to reverse engineer it in my mind so I can share that. It's not like a secret sauce thing because it's not. It's just a mindset. You know, you hear what's the phrase? It's like something and forget it, audition and forget it, but it rhymes or something. Send it and forget it. There it is. Mm-hmm. It's like a family rhyme. So send it and forget it. And I think the more you do it, the less. I don't want to say the less of a big deal it is, but it becomes so second nature that you just keep moving forward. And when you're learning to ride a bike and you're riding and you can't get it straight, you can't stay up on two wheels, and then you fall and you skin your knee. We don't think of that as a rejection. Like, it's not like the bike is rejecting us. And this is, of course, different because we're dealing with human beings and we're dealing with, our own egos and their egos and personalities and stuff. But if you can think of it as just part of the process and part of the learning, and you ride and you ride and you ride, and then you get on more difficult. And so then all of a sudden you're riding, right? And you're like, okay, I'm doing this. And there's this like initial rush, or maybe it's not just initial, it's just this like consistent gratitude, like, oh, I love riding my bike, I'm gonna just keep enjoying this. And then you hit a pebble sometimes. It's more of like this riding a bike, and when maybe you can liken like booking a job to like, this really beautiful part of the neighborhood that you come across, like, oh, this is my favorite part of the ride, But I think even defining things as favorites, or like looking at winning jobs as like all that different from auditioning, that gets a little dangerous. I don't know if this is like borderline Buddhism here, where it's just a little more neutral across the board, but
yeah,
I think...
It's okay if it is. I speak to a wide audience, Chloe.
Yeah, well, it's not about audience. I'm just like, I'm trying to like liken it to something in a way that's digestible. So is this making sense, where it's like, it's a little bit, I'm faced with this, I feel so on the spot with this question, because I've never really like dug into this for myself. I just realized, oh my gosh, I don't see this as rejection. It's just like, I wasn't a fit. It's like dating. Like, you go on a date with someone and it can just like not be a fit. And I mean, I guess you can get really upset about it, but like if you go on one date with someone, it doesn't really hurt all that much. So, you go on one audition and they say, okay, it's not a fit, like you move on to the next one.
That's absolutely a great way to put it. Online in our industry, it's very easy to see people, I didn't get that, or, I haven't booked in a month, or, last year, 2020 was terrible, it can run the gamut. And I think that's an important, like you said, the mindset of it is everything. And how you're just able to say, okay, well, it didn't work, there's going to be another one where it will work.
Right, and I think getting yourself to a place where you're auditioning so much that you really, like, I don't remember what I did last week. Like, nice. I don't know. And it takes a while to get there, but like, when you put that work in, when it becomes part of your routine, it's just practice. If you think of it as practice, if you think of it as just like healthy eating or any of these habits, if you think of it as a habit that's part of your maintenance, then all of the weird feelings dissipate because it's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's what I think about that, and it's not rejection. It's not rejection of you. It's acceptance. They chose someone else. It doesn't mean like, no, you're bad. It just means like, this person's right for this. So you get the opportunity to spend your time elsewhere, and like maybe you'll find something that's a better fit for you, and that's awesome, because
yes.
Why not focus your energies there? And diversifying genre-wise is so important these days. I think it was looked down upon in the past, but we have so much access to so many different opportunities. And I wasn't doing long form like audiobooks and stuff for years. I was just like, I don't want to do it. It seems just overwhelming. And man, I got into it and I love it now. So like, I'm just not worried, because I'm making sure that I'm busy and I'm reaching out to people and I'm training, and you just find ways to keep yourself busy in ways that feel fulfilling to you.
Wonderfully put. Is there, in your little amount of free time that you have when it sounds like you're not doing voiceover or working on new material for your music life, are there any sort of books that you've read over the course of your career that you feel like have really helped you, whether it's, business centric or being an entrepreneur or self-development? Is there anything that you feel like you could throw out there and recommend to people that they read?
Yes, there are. I am a self-discovery junkie, and I love audiobooks. I love listening to books. But reading, there was this one that I ended up giving to a friend called What's in the Way is the Way. And that was so interesting. Like, if you feel like there's a hurdle, like, examine it and really dig in.
A lot of people don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I really enjoyed that. And there's one by, I love Melody Beatty. She does a lot of like 12-step based books.
Okay.
And I'm not an addict, but there have been lots of people in my life who have been. And I think her perspectives really made me look at relationships differently, and even my relationship with myself. So there's one called Finding Your Way Home that is awesome. And then there's this one that I found on my shelf called Little Victories that was very simple, but I think it's all about the little victories. And then the big victories are great too, but celebrating these little wins is so important. And then the audiobook that I want to recommend is, I forget the name of it, but the author is Byron Katie. And it's something about, she has this way of examining interpersonal relationships and your perspective on other people. And man, it's just fascinating. And I think what these books have helped me with is turning down the noise in my head, where it's like if there's excess chatter or like fear about people's opinions of me, or, oh, did I do that wrong? Or just all of these judgments, those have really steered me in a wonderful direction.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to forget this, and I definitely want to end on a high note. But at the very beginning of the show, I mentioned that you have a day in your honor on the calendar.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about how Chloe Dolandis Day came to be, and more importantly, how do you celebrate that day? Is it like a birthday?
Oh, Chloe Dolandis came to be in my hometown of Boca Raton, Florida. I was in this singing competition called Rising Star, and the mayor was involved. He was there, and I had been doing a lot of service work in the South Florida area, lots of volunteering, and I won this competition, and the mayor gave me a day. It was like, we proclaim January 13th, 2004. This is Chloe Dolandis Day. And so there's a whole ceremony at City Hall, and it was really cool.
That is really cool.
It was really neat. And I liked being so involved in the community. I liked helping people. I liked being able to call upon people when I needed help. And I love my hometown so much. And yeah, so that was that. And how I celebrate, I think it depends on the year. In 2020, I had a show. I had like a sort of welcome home show with this small jazz band, which was really fun. And it was over at Meisner Park, which is it's a big performance area over there.
Okay.
So I had a show, and that was a great way to celebrate in 2020. I mean, other years I think the year it happened, I went and I celebrated by doing karaoke with my friends
Nice.
during college. Yeah, and like one year someone brought me balloons, and it's just, sweet, fun stuff. And
Sure.
I think in recent times, perspectives have changed. So like all kinds of celebrating has shifted a little bit. And I'm really thinking more about what I have, not what I want. And,
Right.
really kind of looking inward more. And it's awesome.
Well, and you were talking about even, being awarded this sort of honor, and part of it was your community service.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been a part of who you've been for years and years and years and years. And
Yeah.
so what are some of the ways that you like to give back?
Well, specifically with VO, I do have, there's one person in particular right now who asked me, will you be my mentor? And I was like, well, let's call each other Mentos because I'm going to learn from you too. So I think that's really important. Also, I'm working with Joan and Rudy from SOVAS. You know them from the Voice Arts Awards and the That's Voiceover Conference. I actually was the winner of the audition spotlight for That's Voiceover in 2020. And I'm working with them on the SOVAS Relief Fund. I'm raising money to help voice actors in need, especially now a lot of people need some help. So I'm going to be putting together an event with them soon, and it's going to be fun. And I think these days I'm not logging my service hours the way they ask you to in college or in school.
Sure.
Especially with the pandemic, I feel less... I don't want to say capable, but like I feel restricted and I feel limited. So I used to like sing at nursing homes or visit with people who were lonely. Like I would go out of my way to do those things. And now I think checking in, it's more personal now. So
Gotcha.
Checking in with friends who maybe are having a hard time, checking with friends anyway, but just like keeping up with people who I know and then donating money to causes that involve people I don't necessarily know. that's how I can show up at my best right now. I'm just not really going out much for safety.
Right.
So it's a little different, but we've adapted to this world, and it's like I've had these really amazing talks with friends all over the world recently.
Mm-hmm.
And when we show up for each other, that's like it starts within, right? So I have to show up for myself, and then we show up for the people in our circles, and then continue to expand. So yep, self, friends, and family, and then community farther out. And it's not necessarily the people who are the usual suspects. Like
Right.
I have relationships with a lot of different people, but I have my grandmother, but like by blood, she's my one grandmother who's alive. But then I have these adopted grandmothers who I've just sort of picked up along the way.
Aw.
And I call them, Elizabeth and Rita, like, we call each other and we check on each other. And, I can't visit them just because of this scenario, but
Right.
but we love each other. And so,
That's awesome.
I hear from Elizabeth, oh, moja kochana, she's Polish, and then Rita, hi, darling, how you doing? And, and we're not related. I met Rita when I was singing in high school. I was singing in a show, and my high school performance troupe was singing at her condo. And we just became friends. And it's like, and I don't know if that's like volunteering, but it feels just like what I want to do anyway. But I think it's probably service oriented.
It absolutely is.
So, but it's just, that's just how I want to live. So yeah, no logging hours, just like, living from my heart.
Well, and to your point, you can't give people what you don't have to give.
No.
So that's
no.
why that self-care piece of it is super important,
Yeah.
especially in the world that we're in right now. All right. Well, we're about to wrap up, but before we go, I want to give you a chance to kind of promote sort of some of the projects you've been working on in case people want to check out you, since you are, in voiceover and especially you do audiobooks. Those are pretty easily accessible for a lot of people if they've got a phone or a laptop or a computer. So what are some of the audiobooks, whether it's, for adults or you said, I know that you do some YA novels and that kind of thing. What are some of your more recent projects that people could check out?
Well, everything is on Audible, audiobook-wise. So that's exciting to just be able to, if you look my name up, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. I really enjoyed this book called Fractured Tide that, was it a 2020 release? I think so. I think it was the summer of 2020. Leslie Lutz is the name of the author, and she and I connected on social media and, have this lovely social media relationship. She's just really cool. And it took place down in the Florida Keys, which, I grew up down there. So that felt like home to me. And then the main character is Greek, and I'm a quarter Greek. I'm 25% Greek. So I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. And it's really cool. It's this like paranormal, mysterious YA, but I think it would be interesting to adults too. I actually know adults who have listened to it and they really enjoyed it. So I'm really proud of that one. I really like that one. And then and the rest is on Audible. And The House That Love Built is also a really cool one about this woman who has a sort of safe haven home for the families of people who are caught in the system with, like, what is the phrase? They're people coming across the border who are struggling because they're sort of lost in the system.
Okay.
So it's pretty amazing, very enlightening. I really liked that one. And those are my audiobooks. You can listen to my voiceovers and music and more on ChloeDolandis.com. I'm on most of the social medias. If you just look my name up, or on Facebook, it's Chloe Dolandis Music. And and I'm taking just a handful of students on for singing in particular, just singing for voiceover. And that's my deal. I'm really glad that we got to do this, and thanks for your kindness.
Absolutely. Well, Chloe, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Likewise.